Hello there, and welcome to Connected Conversations, the Black Nonprofit Leaders Group's signature series that explores different topics that are germane to the work that we do as Black nonprofit leaders. I'm Heather Singleton, the facilitator of the Black Nonprofit Leaders Group, and I am super excited to have some really amazing directors and VPs and C-suite folks on with us today who are members of our network and who are here to talk to us a little bit about their personal journeys through career development. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists or conversationalists to introduce themselves and to give us their name, their organization that they're with, as well as their role and how long they've been in that role. And let's get started with Nicole.
Hey, I'm Nicole Echols. I am the Chief CEO of the South Carolina Cancer Alliance, and I have been in this role roughly about 6 months now. So I am new to the role, but I have been an executive director in the past, and I've was previously the director of external affairs for an FQHC here in South Carolina.
And Andrea?
Yes, I'm Andrea Tucker. I'm with United Way of the Midlands. I'm the VP of Finance and Administration, and I've been in this role for almost 8 months. Previously, I was with Children's Trust Fund of South Carolina, where I was the CFO there. And I was there for about 8 years. So, yeah, I'm in the finance world.
Awesome. And John Browne?
John Browne. I am the Chief Executive Officer for Vital Connections of the Midlands. I've been in this role for a little over 5 years, and I've been with the agency for right at 10 years.
Awesome. And while I serve as facilitator for this network, as well as this conversation, I also have a unique perspective. I am the principal consultant of Strategic Public Relations Consulting, and I have been for 4 years now. Oh, wow. It's been 4 years full time. And in that time, I have been able to re-engage with the 9-to-5 world and to also be a full-time consultant and everything in between. But before that, I was in a mid-manager role at United Way of the Midlands, serving as a resource development director. So I want to open up our conversation here today with this question. What are some major career decisions that you have had to make, and how did you arrive at your final decision?
I guess I had the most recent decision being 8 months ago. But I could go backwards. I think my first really big decision I made. So like I'm a CPA by trade. So that's what I went to school for, is to be a CPA. So I started out not in the nonprofit world. I was kind of working in the corporate world at a accounting firm. And so making the decision to leave public accounting and enter into the nonprofit world at Children's Trust was a pretty big decision. But I felt like it just felt like the right time. And there were some other forces that kind of just pushed it to make it be so, that the opportunity presented itself at the right time. And I jumped, and it's been the best decision I've ever made to enter into the nonprofit space. And then so my 8 years there, I didn't really know what was next. I had lots of different options, but I knew that I wanted to broaden, because the nonprofit space, people think that it's very similar from organization to organization, but it's not. All organizations have very different needs, very different operational characteristics. And so I wanted to, I'd only been in the nonprofit space for 8 years. I wanted to be able to see different types of organizations. So when the opportunity here at United Way popped up, I saw that as my chance to see another very different organization. And it is. I came from Children's Trust, which was from a finance perspective, very grant heavy. So I was doing a lot of grants management, whereas United Way has a little bit of everything. So it was just me thinking ahead and just wanting to get a wide breadth of opportunities, just like in any other career field. I don't think as nonprofit professionals we should think any differently about our career paths. We should all still continuously think, I mean, it is about serving the communities and the state that we serve, but it's, we're professionals as well. So in doing that, we also continue to think about our professional trajectory, which in turn, I feel like helps us serve the communities that we serve better because we're growing ourselves to serve them better.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Is somebody trying to unmute? Nicole, are you talking? You might be muted.
There you go. It wouldn't unmute. It kept pulling the thing up. But anyway, I'm here. It said, do you want to unmute? And I'm like, yes, but it wouldn't do. I started right out the gate in the nonprofit sector. I was in school, that's part of my story, as a nursing student, and chemistry and I did not see well. And Dr. Johnson was like, well, this might not be for you. If chemistry, the first one, there's a second one, there's anatomy, there's a lot of other things. And really kind of did inventory of what I really wanted to do. And I really just wanted to help and serve. And he was like, well, social work, you could do that. And I was like, okay. And I went into that realm and I succeeded and started working at a nonprofit, work at grassroots out in the community, working with infant mortality. And as time progressed, I started working in areas where there wasn't a lot of people and it was a specific skill set. I started working and doing fundraising and development, as Heather knows. And there's not a lot of people that talk about that this is an avenue in the nonprofit sector while you're in school. It's not a thing. They talk about how to take care of people, what the needs are, assessments, macro, micro, all of those things, but nobody really talks about the fundraising and development parts of the nonprofit sector. And so when I started getting out into the community and talking to people, they started giving me checks. And so that started allowing me to get that experience that I needed to be able to do fundraising and development. And it's so needed in the nonprofit sector. I don't know why outside of it, while in school, it's not something now they're a little bit more, but back when I was going, it was kind of like the path road to DSS or the path road to DPH. And that's all of what they talked about in the sector. They really didn't talk about, working at a nonprofit fundraising development, and they never really talked about leading it as a whole. And so for me, I have been in my current role for about 4 or 5 months now, but I'm willing to take the chance, take the risk, and do something different. I've gone back to 2 of the nonprofits that I worked at before, twice. So I think, going back and trying to kind of forge a path of what you really want to do. There's a lot of room for growth in this sector. There's a lot of space for leadership, and a lot of people, one of the reasons what we even talked about the Black nonprofit leaders in the beginning is that one of the statistics said that the reason why a lot of leaders of color did not receive opportunities is because they didn't ask. They didn't have a conversation. They didn't plan. I mean, we do know we work hard and we know we show our work, but when the opportunity, we think, oh, we might not be qualified or they might not like us, and not take that risk that other people would take. So I would say that as a CEO of a nonprofit, I would take the risk, take the chance, tell people what you want, set the intention. But that's what I would say for everyone, and that's been my experience, and it served me very well.
I love that. That's a really dynamic perspective.
What I would say is I was never supposed to be here. Nonprofit was not something that was discussed. It was not something that you talked about in your course curriculum in college. I needed a job, and I started working with a nonprofit in the Lowcountry that worked with adjudicated youth, teenage boys primarily from 14 to 17. And I realized it's exactly what I wanted to do. I have been working in the nonprofit sector, and please don't say anything, for 35 years now. So my first job was 1990, working in this sector, and I've never left, maybe briefly for a year, but I've always gravitated back here. And the one thing, and everyone who works at a nonprofit understands, is you get into this work not because it pays you handsomely. And if you understand that and you take steps to develop your craft, you're still not going to get paid what you're worth. But there is the ability to live a decent life doing the work that you love to do. It requires patience, it requires strength and dedication, and it also requires a plan of thinking, I could do this one day. Spent several years at a nonprofit in the Midlands in the Columbia area, and I had reached the ceiling. There was nowhere else to go, and made a decision to let's try something different. That was 10 years ago, not knowing that one day I would be the CEO of this agency. But I stayed true to what I believe, follow the mission of what I thought was important. But I bet on myself, and I took courses, took trainings, attended conferences, not just focused on working directly with families, but focusing on all parts of the nonprofit world. One of the things that we don't talk about enough is that we run businesses. Yeah, we do work with families and kids and all that stuff to make people go, oh, this is a business. And if it gets presented more like that, I think you'll find more people who go, hey, I would be interested in doing that. But this is a business, and too often that gets lost. So it's really important to know what you want, to have an idea of where you want to go, and to develop those skills. And if you do that, that talent will be recognized.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great segue into our next question, especially because, well, I know specifically for Andrea and Nicole, you guys have been in your roles for less than a year. But, John, you've also had, within the last few years, had to adjust to a new role. So my question is, how have you been able to adjust in your new roles? And are there any strategies or best practices that you feel work better than others, or things that you think may be crucial to adapt into a new role?
I'll go first. I would say what I have found is find other people who do this work and share the same passion with you, and seek them and get guidance from others. I have mentees, I have mentors, but I also have standing meetings with new CEOs that are new to their role, and a few that have been in the role for a long time. And we just have a quarterly meeting with some, a monthly meeting, just to check in, just to because sometimes being in the position could be a little lonely, because who I can't go to the team that I'm working and navigating with and ask them for some advice. And they're depending on me to lead. So I go to other leaders and seek their guidance. And my mentees, I help them, but I also have my mentors that help me kind of navigate. And I would say that has been extremely helpful, having the people in place to really support, and also being willing to learn. I think if I'm new to this role, I'm new to this area, I want to hear what everyone else is doing, seeing what else is going on, hearing from the team, seeing what they've done in the past, what we could do different. Just being, teachable all the time, willing to learn how to do things, and be open to honest feedback and saying, I think I did this well, or I think I did that. Is this? And check in, and just making sure that I'm doing the right things, and making sure that if there's some advice, or if there's a lesson, or there's some documentation that someone else is using, please share it. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so I would really want to say is having collaboration with other people who do this work in the field that are new, and some seasoned CEOs. That's been extremely helpful to me.
Yeah, I would say kind of the same thing you were saying, Nicole. Listening is probably the biggest thing. Like I just spend a lot of time just listening to the team, listening to other staff, and kind of trying to get a good understanding of what the needs of the organization are and um where support is needed, where I can use my unique skills or some of my unique experiences to come in and make a difference from what may have how things may have been in the past. So just doing a lot of listening. The part that I know I need to do that I'm still working on, which is so hard when you come in as a new leader, is to not like try to just take, manage everything, change all the take all the problems and fix all the problems at one time. So I'm not great at it, but I'm just trying to slowly break it down into piece by piece and just, tackle one challenge at a time instead of trying to like just fix the whole thing. Because I think all of us want to just like come in and just, especially when you hear people and like what they need and what they're like, oh my gosh, can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? Like we need to do this, that, and you're just like get overwhelmed. So trying not to get overwhelmed by that and just try to break it down in little chunks. And yeah, that would be like my suggestion that I'm still taking notes on myself, trying to figure out how to do.
Yeah, for sure. I want to kind of tie this in, but also switch gears a little bit. John, you guys over at Vital Connections are going through just kind of like a shifting of creating or recreating a position. And so as a leader of your organization and even walking, your team through what that transition looks like, talk to us a little bit about how you develop your staff and even get them ready to excel and to even, be promoted in other areas.
Yeah, thank you. I was working on the answer to the other question, but you want to throw me a curve. I really want to echo what Andrea and Nicole has said about the willingness to be flexible and to adjust. I think that's a major key for any leader. Is just because it's been done a certain way doesn't mean it needs to continue to be that way, but it also doesn't mean that it has to change. So being able to have an approach where you take a step back, you look at things, understand that rarely are there emergencies where something has to happen right away. People may want you to respond right away, but rarely are there emergencies where something has to be decided in the next 30 minutes or the world is going to end. It's really important as a leader to be a good evaluator of talent. And once you can evaluate and identify that talent you're talking about here, where we have added a position back that had been gone for several years, it really required understanding people's strengths, their weaknesses, and then helping people to grow and develop, putting things in place, experiences, training, sending them to conferences. But as the leader, you must, and I say that really strongly, you must have the approach that it is your job to develop people and to develop people who may one day replace you. And that's really okay. One of the books that I recommend to all staff and to anybody to read is a book by Spencer Johnson called Who Moved My Cheese? It's a really good, really small book. It's about 100 pages, but it really talks about what happens when you get stuck and you don't see change and you don't anticipate change, and why it's important to not have those blinders on. And that's true about your organization culture, but that's also true about the folks that you have to develop. Because I think we all think we're going to be here forever, but that's not the case. And it's really important that when you identify talent, that you put things in place, if they're willing, but you put things in place to help them grow and develop. And if it means one day they take your job, then you've done your job, and you can't be afraid of that.
That's a really powerful statement, especially when you hear everything on social media about, folks in the workplace just being very reluctant to change. Things have been the old guard for such a long time, and it's expected to continue in that way because that's how we've always done it. When in actuality, a lot of things have been because we've always done it. A lot of biases, a lot of systems, a lot of castes have been set up because that's the way that things have always been. We've just been perpetuating what has been. And I think that now we're at this advent when it comes to career development where people are realizing I don't have to follow the status quo. I don't have to stay stuck in this role, and that there are opportunities for me to elevate and for me to shine and feel fulfilled in my role. So the last thing I want you guys to do.
Can I interject? Because one thing I left out when you said that, and it's also really important to understand that as you're developing that talent may have to leave to blossom and to grow further. And you have to be okay with that as well. Because again, your role as the leader is to elevate your staff. And sometimes that means that people get to a place to where they can no longer grow where they are. And you have to look at it as I've done my job. I think you like to say bless and release, and release them to that next stage. And again, you have to be okay with that. As a leader, you should take pride in being able to help folks get to that place.
Yeah, for sure.
To John, I will definitely say, I'm the first to say, I am the product of somebody doing that for me. When Yvette Pope Rogers brought me on as her finance manager at Children's Trust, she told me like on day one that she was training me to take her spot. So like I knew from day one, she couldn't guarantee it, but she did all she could to train me to take her spot. And that let me become CFO as soon as she left. Like it was no question that I got that. And so I've been able to move in other CFO roles because of her. So that's how I lead now. Like my team at Children's Trust, every single one of them there, I was always thinking about what they needed to move on to the next step. And some of my staff did not necessarily want to move into a CFO role, but I always asked them, where do you want to go on your next journey in your career, whether that be here at Children's Trust or somewhere else? And I tried to create goals and plans for them to reach that next step in their career, wherever it may be. I didn't care if it wasn't at Children's Trust. I just wanted them to always feel like they were growing, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that person who had done that for me too.
Yeah, I can attest to that. And I'll even add in my own anecdotal experience. I spent about 7 years working for a large nonprofit, providing development services and really growing as a development director. And it was because of those experiences that I took that I was able to branch out and divest. And the goal for me as somebody who is a full-time consultant is to help as many nonprofits as I can with their brand strategy and development, because there are causes that need to be communicated and policies that need to be explained and people who need to be served. And I felt as though my talents, though they were many, and thank the Lord for Jacqueline Campbell Lawrence and the team over at United Way for showing me the way and for helping to curate my journey. But I realized that at one point in time, I could be more effective outside of the regular 9 to 5, and I could impact more nonprofits in that way and help with those stories. So as we prepare to close out this conversation, and it's really, really good, I kind of wish that we had a little more time. I would like for each of you to just kind of leave everyone with one piece of advice that you have taken up since you've either been in your role or if you like throughout your entire professional career. What is one thing that you would like to leave with our audience?
I'll go first again. I would say that what I would say is learn what you need to learn, be confident in what you're doing, and take the risk. I think a lot of us don't, and whenever I talk to people, they're like, oh, you work somewhere else? Yeah, take the risk. I mean, It's a calculated, curated, planned, orchestrated risk that I'm taking, but I'm still taking the risk nonetheless. If there's a place that you think you want to be, or there's a job that you want, or there's a goal, set yourself high. Don't sell yourself short. If we all know that what your talents and your skills are, lean into those. Use those as your catalyst to create the goals and then achieve them regardless and in spite of what anyone else has to say about them. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take the risk, you don't get the reward. So if there is an opportunity at your job, I've had many missed opportunities because I didn't think I was qualified. I didn't think I'd get the job. I didn't know what I'm. There's so many missed that, and it still worked out in the end. But I wish that when a position came available and I looked around and everyone was like, "Oh, who's qualified?" I was, and I should have. But I learned to take the risk. And a lot of opportunities when your work is really good and people know who you are and your reputation precedes you, people will find you too for the role that you are supposed to have. It's out there. And I would always say that, don't sit, learn, grow, figure out, pick a new craft, do something different, and lean into your passion. That's what I would leave.
Good. Real good.
I can go next. Mine is real simple. I say, go find you a good therapist, because I keep very important to me my 1 hour therapy session every month. I wish I could go more often, but especially since taking leadership roles, I think like Nicole said it earlier, I'm not a CEO, but even on a senior leadership team, it can be very lonely. And I think especially for Black leaders in not all Black spaces, it can also come with its additional challenges on top of also being a leader. And so having your 1 hour space every month to just like talk through it and, get all those things that constantly go through your head, like as you question the decisions you make and the decisions that you're forced to make sometimes, having that space to really talk through it and air it out and then come back and start again has been a bit life-changing for me, I think. And just making it be, I used to do it before, but like now I make sure that I, keep it on a regular schedule. Having that hour every month has been very helpful for me.
My favorite phrase is, you got to go see the lady. You got to go see the lady.
Or the man, whoever it is.
Or the man, or they, them. You got to go see somebody. Talk to someone.
I would say, don't allow yourself to be ruled by fear. Fear will immobilize you. Fear will paralyze you. Fear will have you doing what they've always done, even though it's no longer effective. Fear keeps you from taking risk. Fear keeps you from developing your team because you're afraid of them leaving or what may happen. So dealing with that fear, which is human, it's inherent, but you cannot allow yourself to be ruled by that fear. Great advice, ladies. We offer therapy for our staff and families here, having someone to talk to. And again, having someone on your level that you can talk to, because other folks don't understand. Yes, someone may run the program, someone may do this, but as the CEO or the CFO, ultimately everything is your responsibility. So having someone that you can sit with, talk with, and debrief. And again, not being afraid to say, I'm struggling with this or I'm struggling with that, having somewhere to go. So the one thing I would say is, do not allow fear to paralyze you. You can't lead people if you're always operating in a space of fear.
Yeah, that's good. I think my parting piece would be, your role is what you can make it to be. It's what you're going to make it. Sometimes, yes, there are outside forces that contribute to the impact that your job has on you, or the impact that this stage of your career has on you. But if you know that you want to, and I'll just use this as an example. If you know that you want to be a communications project manager, use the resources at your job currently where you are to help build the platform for where you're headed. Don't despise the day of small beginnings, because no matter what level you're on, it can be scaled and your career can be a success, or it could feel like a sacrifice. But it really does depend on what you put into it and what your outcomes are. Also, don't let these people pigeonhole you into staying where they find most comfort. Do what works best for you, whether that means divesting and becoming a consultant and a full-time solopreneur, or if that means going to find another nonprofit to serve throughout the community. Or maybe that means leaving nonprofit and going to for-profit so that you can benefit the nonprofit community. Either way, wherever you find yourself, your career is yours alone, and it is on you to design what that's going to look like. So we thank these panelists and conversationalists so much for their time today, for just imparting so many nuggets and jewels of wisdom. And you guys can stay tuned to the Black Nonprofit Leaders Group for additional career development and preparedness programming throughout our summer. Thank you guys so much, John, Andrea, Nicole. I really wish you guys continued success in all that you do, and I hope that you guys have a beautiful summer.